all of that resistance, through all of that opposition, Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States. President Obama is the ex-president. And Mr. Trump, for the moment...
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Maverick Report, Episode 2. Today is Tuesday, January 24th. And last episode, we covered the inauguration weekend and what Trump did after his inauguration in his first 2 weekend days as president. So yesterday, Monday, January 23rd, President Trump survived his first full day in office as president of the United States. We had a lot go on. He woke up really early. It was a full work day for him, and a lot was accomplished. So we're going to talk about today, and then we're going to talk about yesterday, and then we're going to talk about today first. So when he woke up yesterday, he had breakfast, obviously, as most people would, but he did something strange after that. He invited all of the top business leaders throughout the country to a private meeting where they were going to talk about bringing jobs back to the country and improving the economic situation that Obama's left us in. So some of the people he invited were Elon Musk, Kevin Plank from Under Armour, Marilyn Hewson of Lockheed Martin, Mario Longhi from U.S. Steel, and a bunch of others. And they basically talked about, like I said, improving the economic situation that we're in. President Trump told them that he was going to be removing 75% of restrictions on business in the next couple coming weeks, so that he can really allow these companies to continue growing and create more jobs here in the United States, which is really amazing. That's very good Trump right there. You know, we're going to be talking about a lot of good things Trump does and a lot of bad things Trump does. If you're a Trump supporter, you're obviously going to be on the bandwagon for all the good things he does, but he's not a perfect person, and he's going to be doing a lot of bad things, so we're going to call him out when he does bad things, and I've got a couple here. So, after he talked to them, actually during the conversation, he also told to the press how he was going to be lowering taxes on the middle class from about 36%, that's where they are right now, down to 15, 20, somewhere in that range, because the middle class is really where the growth is going to happen. The middle class is all your small business owners. That's just really all the substantial job growth areas that we need to have in this country, because there's no opportunity for people to raise up throughout the economic structure from the poorest to the highest without a real strong middle class. So that's really good. That's really good Trump right there. And after this meeting, the press was present, and so were all the business leaders. After the meeting, he signed a couple of executive orders. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Let's go over the first one. I'm going to give you the bad stuff first. He withdrawed us from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and it's really speculative. The Trans-Pacific Partnership wasn't really perfect in the first place, but at the same time, you can't just remove us from it. The Trans-Pacific Partnership basically allows us free trade with a lot of the countries that were involved. And by just removing us from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, we no longer have free trade with the countries that were in it. And that has just allowed China to come in and sign deals with these countries, because now they need a major power to be trading with. So yesterday, in the newspapers in China, they were just praising Trump. They were just they were so happy this deal he made. They were so happy of this order that he signed, because now their growth is just gonna be substantial, because now they can trade with all these countries for free, because all these countries are going to be looking for a new trading partner. So that wasn't very good right there. Free trade's good, but it just depends on when it's implemented and with who it's implemented, because sometimes it can be devastating if we have worse regulations, or more regulations here in the United States. It's going to incentivize companies to go overseas so that they can just trade back to us, because it's free trade, so they'll be saving money. To create or to fix the problem of outsourcing, where companies send their jobs overseas, you need to make better regulations here. You need to incentivize companies to stay here. You need to make it more worthwhile for them to stay here. The reason they're going overseas is because it's cheaper for them to produce overseas, and then they just ship back freely. It's not because of the shipping back freely part that they're leaving. It's because it's cheaper for them to produce it overseas. If you make it as cheap to produce the stuff here, to produce the products here as you do in another country, they're going to save on shipping costs because they still have to pay for shipping anyway. So the Trans-Pacific Partnership departure was very speculative. You know, he's if you're a Trump supporter, you love this because he said he was just going to be wiping out all the free trade that Obama and Bill Clinton got us into. So, you know, he's not going back on any campaign promises, but at the same time, they're not good deals. The second what's it called? Executive order we have was a hiring freeze on all governmental employees. This is really good, Trump. This is great because, you know, it's part of his initiative to drain the swamp. It's the start of that. It's just freezing all hiring that's going on in D.C. and in the government so that we don't have any more wasteful spending, because he wants to figure out how to restructure the government so that no money is wasted and that everybody that's working there is doing the maximum, is using maximum efficiency at the job they're using, and we're not having two people doing one job per se, so that no more money is being wasted and we know where it's all going. So by creating a hiring freeze, we're really going to be able to reanalyze the structure of the government to understand which people do which jobs, and how many people we need doing each job. So that's really good. That was a really good executive order. Kudos to that. The next executive order yesterday was the stopping of overseas funding on abortion. This is really great because funding of abortion is just a waste of the taxpayers' money. If somebody wants to get an abortion, that's all of them, to be perfectly honest. Like, you can do whatever you want with your body, but the government should not be paying for it. You're forcing American taxpayers to pay for people's abortions, and more than 50% of the people in this country don't like abortions. So by doing that, you're forcing people to pay for things that they don't want to, because a lot of people consider it murder. And especially overseas. I have no clue why Obama was taking our money and using it to pay for things overseas in the first place. That was just ridiculous. So that was the first step. I'm pretty sure after this he's going to start the defunding of abortions here in the United States, because the government should not be paying for people's abortions. I mean, we already provide tons of free condoms. You can go to any Planned Parenthood distribution center and get tons of free condoms. I don't understand why we need to be funding abortions. It's ridiculous. So after that, those three executive orders yesterday, the union was very happy from the Trans-Pacific Partnership executive order, because the union doesn't like free trade. The unions, it was just all the major unions. They were happy and ecstatic yesterday because the major unions in this country don't want free trade because they want better working conditions for their workers. They want the jobs here, but what they don't understand is that you need the companies to be incentivized here. And the reason they're not incentivized to stay here is because of the unions and all of the restrictions they put on work quality and all that stuff that's just completely unnecessary because we don't live in the 1800s. Workers' unions just are terrible for jobs, and if they're on your side, which they are for Trump's deal with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, it's just a bad sign. It's just a bad sign. That's when you know you've done something wrong, is when the unions are praising what you've done. But we'll move on that. So that brings us to today. Today was also a very big day. We had more executive order signs, another press conference with the White House press secretary came out and talked about more alternative news. I mean, the media and Trump are just at a war right now. And honestly, the American public just don't care as much as you'd think they are. Like, it's just a war between what happens is, the media says the Trump president, White House, or whatever you want to call it, the Trump White House reported false numbers, and then the media says, no, these are the real numbers, and then the White House comes back out and says, no, the media is lying, don't listen to the media, these are the real numbers, and then it's just back and forth, and it's ridiculous, and honestly, the American people don't understand what's going on. This is why you should never watch the liberal media anyway. It's just so uninformative, and all they care about is the way they look. They only care about just selling their narrative, and they don't care about the news, the quality of the news that they give out whatsoever. If the media was actually, good, they'd be reporting on what Trump's actually doing, not about having this pissing contest between who had the numbers right. Because honestly, it's just gotten ridiculous at this point, and nobody has the right numbers. So he came out, the press secretary came out today and was talking about illegal voting and claimed that there was millions of illegal voters that voted in this country during the election. And we just don't need to hear about this at this point. Like, Trump already won. We don't care. Even if there was illegal voters, it wouldn't have mattered anyway because he won. And we know they would have all voted for Hillary, but it doesn't matter because it's over. You know, it doesn't. They're just trying to show how big a stick Trump has, and it's just ridiculous. They're like, "Hey, look, I got big hands. You gotta love them." Like this, we're back to the hands thing from the Republican from the Republican primaries. Like it's the same thing. Like, no, there were millions of illegal voters. There were millions. Trump would have won by so much more. It's just ridiculous. Trump needs to stop telling his press secretary to go out and arguing with the to go out and argue with the media. It's ridiculous, and it's just a pissing contest, like I said before, between the two. And personally, I think I'm getting a little bit tired of it. We don't need to be seeing it. The media could be covering plenty of other things, and this is just ridiculous. They also did say, the press secretary said that the wall is still going to be built. We don't know if Mexico is going to be paying for that at all. We don't even know how expensive it's going to be. There have been plenty of claims about the price during Trump's run for Canada, or his run, but we honestly don't know any of the real numbers because it was just claims of how much it was going to cost. So we have no clue. But they did say it was still going to be built. And also, he said to the media today that he was going to be deciding on the next Supreme Court justice this week. So this week he's going to be picking the Supreme Court justice, which is great. He said it was going to be a great one. I don't know if we could trust his word at this point. We just got to take it as it comes. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. We'll point it out. But that's great. We need this. The gap's been there for 11 months. We haven't had the ninth Supreme Court justice for 11 months. There's been an open seat, and it's finally time to get a new one in there. And he said he'll be making the announcement next week. So he'll be deciding this week. The announcement will come next week. So next week we'll know by then who the next Supreme Court justice will be. And it's been a great first 2 days. We've had some bad stuff, but mostly good stuff from Trump. And if the first 2 days, if this trend continues on to the next 98 of his first 100 days in office, I wouldn't consider the first 2 days of the weekend, or the 2 days on the weekend, the first 100 days in office, because it was just the weekend and he could only do so much. There was a lot of protests going on and a lot of business moving into the White House, all that stuff. So yesterday and today were honestly the first 2 work days that Trump's had in office. So if the first 2 days are anything like the next 98, it's going to be a pretty good run. You know, we're going to get some bad stuff mixed in there with the good stuff. It doesn't make the bad stuff any better. It doesn't mean that we can ignore the bad stuff and just wipe it off, because we have to take them both as they come, and you have to weigh them both equally. And that's the problem with a lot of Trump supporters right now, is that they're just taking everything that Trump does and just considering it as good, which you can't. You have to take it if it's good or bad and judge it so. You can't just make something good just because Trump released it, like this TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's not good just because Trump did it. It wasn't good just because Obama did it. It's not good then, it's not good now. It's good if it's good, and it's bad if it's bad. I'm going to keep saying that through this entire first 100 days, but as long as you get it down, we'll have somewhere to start off with. So that was the first 2 days of Trump's presidency, the first 2 work days. We're going to be continuing on with the report as the news comes in, but that's all. Thomas Bethon, Maverick Report. Subscribe, comment, like.